the password for the admin for the administration of the whole antivirus. So, and the algorithm was so easy that the only thing that you had to do if you wanted just to reproduce it like manually is it was like a base64 one, but you could do it like manually. The only thing that you have to do is like type 1 to 0 and A to Z, and if you wanted other characters, and send first only one, or actually you could send the same one up to like 10. So each one was going to be like a different character because it's like position dependent. So you store that in a table. Then you go to the next one, do exactly the same thing with all the characters. And when you are in front of the real password, the only thing that you have to say is, okay, what is the character that I have in the first column? Is this one? Okay, it's this character. Which is the second one? It's the second one. So it was as easy as doing that. So it was like really, really, really straightforward. It was also even installed in the registry key. So actually, I don't know if they store that nowadays either. It wasn't like the real mean of my research in this case, because I was like more interested in getting in from the out and not having to be in the machine to do that. So then on the client listeners, you have like the common things, but that is very common in all the software, right? So you have a communication channel. The communication channel could have a problem or not. And then you have a lot of problems with null DACLs. I don't know if you guys are familiar with what null DACL is. Basically, when you generate like a handler, to the handler you can apply different kind of permissions. So for example, if you create like a shared section, you can say this shared section can be only readable or deleted or whatever by this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, or this group and this guy. And all the policies that actually you can apply on a Windows system, you can apply to the DACLs. So basically, when the second argument where you're calling the API that is set security DACL, the second argument is actually the one that have this description of the DACL. If the DACL is null, means everybody can do anything with this. So there are many pieces, many antiviruses that actually allow this, and I will do a demo on this one. So with these null DACLs, you can like modify registry keys. You can basically modify depending on the file permissions that you have on the file system when the starter starts installing the whole stuff, and on the handlers, especially on the handlers. Oh, sorry. Oh. So, for example, if we come like to this is fprod. So fprod has one of these ports that actually is an LPC port. So you can see that everyone can like delete, synchronize, query, state, even anonymous logon. So that is bad, okay? Because you shouldn't be able to modify these things. At least they should be like logged on users. If this LPC is like correctly implemented, if it doesn't have any kind of bug, this shouldn't be the case. So this is like real bad policy, right? Okay, other problems is that like whenever you are in front of any kind of archiving format like zip, cab, you have different fields. That is like the structure that is the one that actually compound the whole data type, that in this case is the format of, for example, a zip file. So many antiviruses, actually most of them, if not all of them, when they deal like with the integers that are the fields that actually describe the length of the data or the size that they are going to parse, instead of they checking exactly which this section length or size is, they just believe whatever is here. So what is going to happen? If this section says like, if they're using like a double word, that the maximum size is 4 gigs, it's like FF. And you use that number, and this guy is using +1 to actually add a 0 in the end. When they malloc that, it becomes 0, so they're going to like create a buffer of 0 size to allocate something that could be any other size. So whenever this guy tries to write in that buffer, it's going to basically overflow. It's going to write anything that is behind that. This is a very nice one. Actually, this was found by another guy that should be, I don't know if it's here. There is Pierre. It's a guy that used to work with me. So basically, he was playing with gzip, and in the specification of gzip, you can actually concatenate different gzip files. So, for example, you do a gzip of a directory of a file, and you do a gzip of another directory of another file, and then you say cat file1, file2, and just the output of those put in only one file. You just make the two files one. That is actually aligned with the specifications of the gzip. So if on some antiviruses you just concatenate two files, the first one was going to be analyzed, and the second one is not. So that is completely bypassed the parsing and the detection engine. And this is a very common one. This had been changed in the last 3 months, but there are many that still have these kind of problems. That is dealing with the files. What happened with reading files is, okay, antiviruses used to deal with very small files. You cannot like send like 2 gigs files every day to anybody, probably because of the mailbox policy, this will not even pass, right? But when it comes to like locally storage, as they used to use like integers that are signed instead of unsigned, the maximum size positive that you have is 2 gigs. So if you pass that, then it's smaller. So locally it's very funny because you do a file that is more than 2 gigs. And they used to have a lot of problems. Especially when you're not aligned with the header, right? So for example, what I said before is the thing about if they are aligned or not with the most common software. If a most common software is able to decompress some kind of file, the antivirus should be able to recognize it, because otherwise it's going to be unpacked, it's going to be executed in the system, or it's going to be like anything. If it's an exploit, the machine is going to be exploited anyway. And I met a lot of many, not the guys that used to work in the research labs, but many guys that are like not selling the products or selling, like giving support. They really believe they even really know about security when they really not. Okay, maybe the guys that design the software, probably the guys that design software know, but. So, which could be like the main topic today is like, okay, which is our main entrance from the outside? It's just sending some kind of file. So, basically, I see a lot of different file formats that an antivirus have to deal with. So my question basically is how the antivirus is going to be able to actually handle them all when the guys that are actually do the compressions that they are using inside are not able to, and they have like a lot of problems themselves. And okay, this looked like really, really scary. And when you start testing this, it becomes more scary though. So these are some advisories that I launched. I already reported like more than 80 vulnerabilities in the antiviruses. They already have been fixed, like 30 of them. And it was just what I reported, right? There's a lot of people working on this. So, and I want to just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we should have like 40, at most like 50, 60, because I want just you to remember that there are like 60 or something like that file formats that the antivirus have to deal with, because I want you to remember that number, because there is something that comes after this. So what are going to be the dangers here? First of all, IPSs and IDSs from the same manufacturers, they have to reuse their engines. So they're going to be, they have to reuse them because they have to only fix it once, right? It could be like really stupid if you have like one engine from here, one engine there, one engine there, and you have to patch each bug each time. So this is good. What is bad is when you find a bug from one vendor, basically you can exploit all the branches of products that they have that are using the same engine. The impact is obvious. You will have like denial of service. Nobody wants to have like their mail server down. If you have your database, you don't want your database to be down. Then the bypass detection thing, that is going to be, I'm going to be infected with a known virus. That is not good either. Settings modification. This is very funny. For example, I think they changed it lately. But also Trend Microsystems, you only have to go to the registry key, and you only have to, there was a key that is enable the user to disable the antivirus. So the end user could go there, click and say 1, set to 1, close it and say the button, and then you have the shut down the antivirus enabled. So if you are in a company, you have like a company policy, you don't want that to happen, right? Elevation of privilege, this is when they scan locally, or when you are like in your system, in your corporate network, your administrator gives you such a low privilege and you want to elevate them. So basically what you can use remotely, you can use like locally too, in this case. But elevation of privilege is something that is even bigger. It's not just with the archiving file formats. Then obviously we have like remote code execution. And with the remote code execution, we have like a huge problem. So for example, when I started to test some of my files, I just sent the mail to a friend of mine, and I don't know if you can read here. Basically, Gmail, the Gmail guys from Google, they didn't want to tell me what antivirus they were using. And I kind of understand that, right? So basically, now this doesn't happen anymore. But it was just, I don't know if you remember, like about 1.5 years, there was like a huge amount of problems with Gmail, that the servers were like not really working, and they have like a lot of problems. It was this shit. So I just sent a proof of concept file to a friend of mine to try him on another antiviruses, because I didn't want to install them all in my machine. And this happened. And then I started to have like problems with my Gmail account. And then I sent the mail to the guys that are actually in charge of the security and said, hey, I want to report I have this problem. And the guys started like, yes, even our backup software is like melting down, and they just fixed it. They just realized this was the cause of the problem. It was funny though. So another one of the common problems is that this is not with all the antivirus companies. There are many companies that are really, really nice to deal with, and they're really kind. And there are some other ones that are like really, really, really tough. I think everybody saw my mail about Norman, guys. There was another one that I didn't want to mention. But these guys are really, really, really difficult to play with, especially the big ones. Like Symantec is somehow difficult. At least it's difficult if you don't know the right mail, and I didn't. And when the guys from support actually answer your mail, you don't want to be there. because you try to report like a vulnerability and they tell